An exciting rescue. They went on and on down the crooked streets, calling all the time,
Saucepan! Where are you, Saucepan?
After a while they stopped for a breath.
Of course, Saucepan is very deaf. He might not hear us calling him, even if he were locked up somewhere quite near.
They went on again, shouting and calling.
Saucepan! Where are you, Saucepan?
The toys hurrying by stared at them with astonishment.
Saucepan! Where are you?
Then Silky heard something. She clutched Joe's arm.
Hush, hush, everybody. Listen, do listen.
Everybody stood still and listened. Then, floating on the air, came a well-known voice singing a silly song.
2 trees in a teapot, 2 spoons in a pie, 2 clocks at the chimney, hi diddly hi.
Joe cried out,
It's Saucepan! Nobody but Saucepan sings those silly songs. Where is he?
They looked all round. There was a toy fort not far off, but of course much bigger than a proper toy fort. The song seemed to come from there.
2 mice on a lamppost, 2 humps and a bee, 2 shoes on a rabbit, hi diddly hee.
Joe laughed.
I never knew such a stupid song in my life. It's coming from that fort. That's where he's locked up.
Everyone looked at the red-painted fort. Soldiers walked up and down on it. A drawbridge was pulled up so that no one could go in or out. When a soldier wanted to go out, the drawbridge was let down, and the soldier stepped over it. Then it was pulled up again. Then Moonface spoke quietly.
Well, Saucepan is certainly in there. Oh, by the way, don't call to him, any of you. We don't want the guards to know that there are any friends of his here.
But Bessie was worried.
Oh, do let's try and let him know we're here. He must feel so worried and unhappy.
Joe stood and thought for a moment. Then he raised his voice and sang a little song.
2 boys in the high road, 2 girls in the street, 2 friends feeling sorry. Tweet, 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 tweet.
Everyone roared with laughter.
It's very clever, Joe. 2 boys, Saucepan will know that's you and me. 2 girls, that's Bessie and Fanny. 2 friends, Silky and Moonface. Saucepan will know we're all here.
A frightful noise came from the fort, a clanging and a banging, a clanking and crashing. Everyone listened.
That's old Saucepan dancing round madly to let us know he heard and understood. Now the thing is, how are we going to rescue him?
They walked down the street, talking, trying to think of some good way to save poor Saucepan. They came to a clothes shop. In it were dolls' clothes of all sorts. In the window was a set of sailors' clothes, too. Joe stared at them.
I wonder if they've got any soldiers' clothes. Moonface, lend me some money, please.
Moonface put some money into Joe's hand. Joe disappeared into the shop. He came out with 3 sets of bright red soldiers' uniforms with big black furry bearskins for hats. He was very excited.
Come on, come somewhere that we shan't be seen.
They all hurried down the street and came to a field. He climbed over the gate and went behind the hedge.
Dick, see if this uniform fits you, and I'll put this one on.
But Joe, what are you going to do?
Asked Bessie in surprise.
I should have thought you could have guessed,
Said Joe, putting on the uniform quickly.
We're going to see if we can march into the fort and get old Saucepan out. I should think they'll let down the drawbridge for us if we're dressed like soldiers.
Is this 3rd suit for me?
Asked Moonface.
No, Moonface, no. I didn't think you'd look a bit like a soldier, even if you were dressed like one. You must stay outside and look after the others. This 3rd suit is for Saucepan. The soldiers wouldn't let us take him out of the fort, all hung round with kettles and saucepans. They would know it was a prisoner and would stop him. He'll have to take off his kettles and things and dress in this. Then maybe we can rescue him quite easily.
Joe, you're really very, very clever, said Silky. Joe felt very pleased. He buckled his belt and put on his black bearskin and looked very important indeed. So did Dick. Then Joe said,
Now we're ready to go. Moonface, if by any chance Dick and I are caught, you must take the others safely back to the tree. See?
Moonface nodded.
I understand. Good luck, boys.
Everyone went out of the field and walked back to the fort. When they got near it, Dick and Joe began to march very well indeed. Left, right, left, right, left, right. They came to the fort. Joe yelled out in his loudest and most commanding voice,
Soldier, let down the drawbridge.
The sentinel peered over the wall of the fort. When he saw two such smart soldiers, he saluted at once and let down the drawbridge. It fell flat to the ground, and Dick and Joe walked over it into the fort. The drawbridge was drawn up again.
I wish to talk to the prisoner here.
Joe told them. A wooden soldier saluted and took a key from his belt and gave it to Joe. He pointed to the first door on the right.
Thanks, my man,
said Joe, and marched along the corridor to the first door on the right. He unlocked it, and he and Dick went in and shut the door. Saucepan was there. When he saw the soldiers, he fell on his knees.
Oh, set me free! Set me free! Set me free! I did not mean to steal the sweets. I thought this was the land of goodies.
Saucepan, it's us.
Whispered Joe, taking off his helmet so that Saucepan could see him plainly.
We've come to save you. Put on this uniform. Quick!
But what about my kettles and saucepans?
Said Saucepan.
I can't leave them behind.
This made Joe just a little bit cross.
Don't be silly. You'll have to leave them. Quick, Dick. Help him off with them.
The two boys stripped off every pan and made Saucepan dress up in the red uniform.
Now march close to us and don't say a word,
said Joe when Saucepan was ready. His kettles and saucepans lay in a heap on the floor. He fell over them as he scrambled across to Joe and Dick. Joe opened the door. All three marched out, keeping in step, left, right, left, right, left, right. The other soldiers in the fort looked up and saw nothing but three of their comrades. Or so they thought. Joe shouted to the sentinel,
Let down the drawbridge!
The sentinel saluted and let it down with a crash. Joe, Dick, and Saucepan marched out at once. Left, right, left, right, left, right. Moonface and the girls could hardly believe that the third soldier was old Saucepan. He did look so different in uniform, without his pans hung all round him. Silky flew to hug him. And then there came a lot of shouting from the fort.
Goodness, they've spotted us! Run! Run!
Cried Joe, and they all ran. How they ran! Soldiers poured out of the fort after them, toy policemen and teddy bears joined in the chase, and dolls of all kinds pattered behind on their small feet. Joe shouted,
To the hole in the cloud! Run! Run! Oh, I do hope we get there in time.
And how they ran! They knew quite well that if they were caught, they'd be put into the toy fort, and then the land of toys would move away from the faraway tree, and goodness knew how long they might have to stay there. Fanny fell behind a little, and Joe caught her hand to help her. Puffing and panting, they raced down the streets of the land of toys to get to the hole that led down through the cloud to the faraway tree. Joe led them all to the hole, and there was the ladder, thank goodness.
Down you go, everybody! Come on, hurry! Get into Moonface's room, quickly!
Down the girls went, and then Dick, Moonface, Saucepan, and Joe. Joe only just got down in time, for a large doll with very long legs had almost caught them up, and as Joe went down he reached out and tried to catch Joe's collar. Joe jerked himself away. His collar tore, and the boy half slid, half climbed down the ladder to safety. Soon he was in Moonface's house with the others. But what was this? The toys didn't stay up in their land. They poured down the ladder after the children and their friends. Moonface shouted,
They're coming in here! Oh, why didn't we shut the door?
but it was too late then to shut the door. Soldiers, toy cars, bears and dolls poured into Moonface's funny round room, and Moonface, quick as lightning, gave them each a push towards the middle of his room. The opening of his slippery slip was there, and one by one all the astonished toys fell into the hole and found themselves sliding over down the inside of a tree. As soon as Joe and the others saw what Moonface was doing, they did the same.
Down you go!
Said Joe to a fat doll, giving her a hard push, and down she went.
I'll push for you!
Yelled Dick to a big blue teddy bear, and down the slide went the bear. Soon the children could do no more pushing, for they began to giggle. It really was funny to see the toys rushing in, being pushed and going down the slide, squealing and kicking for all they were worth. But after a while, no more toys came, and Moonface shut his door. He flung himself on his curved bed and laughed till the tears ran down his cheeks and soaked his pillow.
What will the toys do?
Asked Joe at last. Moonface stopped laughing and dried his eyes.
Climb back up the tree to the land of toys. We'll see them out of my window. They won't interfere with us again.
After about an hour, the toys began to come past Moonface's window, slowly, as if they were tired. Not one of them tried to open the door and get into Moonface's house.
They're afraid that if they don't get back into their land at once, it will move away. Let's sit here and watch them all. Oh, and have a few Google buns and pop biscuits.
Then the Saucepan Man said in a humble voice,
I'm so sorry to have caused you all this trouble, and I didn't bring anything back for tea either. You see, I really thought that when I got into the land of toys, that it was the land of goodies, because one of the first things I saw was that toy sweet shop. And in the land of goodies, you can take anything you like without paying. So, of course, I went right into the shop and began to empty some chocolates out of a box. That's why they put me in prison. It was dreadful. Oh, I was so glad to hear Joe singing. I knew at once that you would try to rescue me.
This was a very long speech for Saucepan to make. He looked so unhappy that everyone forgave him at once for making such a silly mistake. Moonface spoke to him kindly.
Cheer up, Saucepan. The land of goodies will be coming along soon, and we'll all go and visit it. Not just you. We'll have the grandest feast we've ever had in our lives.
Joe looked a bit worried.
Do you think we ought to? We seem to get in a fix every time we go up the ladder.
But Moonface said,
I'll make quite sure that nothing whatsoever goes wrong next time. Don't be afraid. I say, Joe, you and Dick and Saucepan look very smart in your soldiers' uniforms. Are you always going to wear them?
Joe looked surprised.
Oh, gracious, I forgot. We haven't got our proper clothes. Mother will be cross if we leave them in the land of toys. We left them under a hedge near the fort.
And I left my lovely kettles and saucepans in the fort,
said Saucepan Man.
I feel funny without them. I don't like being a soldier. I want to be a saucepan man.
And Silky smiled at him.
I'd like you to be our dear old Saucepan Man too. It doesn't seem you somehow dressed up like that. But I don't see how we're going to get anything back. Certainly none of us is going back into the land of toys again.
Just then 3 sailor dolls, last of all the toys, came climbing slowly up the tree. They were crying. Their sailor clothes were torn and soaking wet. Moonface opened his door and spoke to them.
What's the matter? What's happened to you 3? Awful things,
said the first sailor.
We were climbing up this tree when we came to a window, and we peeked in, and a very angry pixie flew out at us and pushed us off the branch. The faraway tree was growing thorns just then, and they tore our clothes to bits. And then the whole lot of washing water came pouring down the tree on top of us and soaked us. So we feel dreadful. Sure. Oh, if only we could get some new clothes.
Then Joe had an idea.
Listen, you three. How would you like to have our soldier uniforms? They're quite new and very smart.
Ooh, said all the sailor dolls together.
Would you really give us those? We shall get into trouble if we go back to the land of toys like this.
We'll give you them on one condition. You must find our own things in the land of toys and throw them down the ladder to us. We'll tell you where they are.
Oh, we can easily do that.
Promised the sailor. So Joe, Dick and the Saucepan Man stripped off their smart uniforms and gave them to the sailor dolls, who took off their torn blue clothes and dressed themselves in the red trousers, tunics and bearskin helmets.
Now you will find our clothes for us, won't you?
Said Joe.
We're trusting you see.
We are very trustable,
said the dolls, and ran up the ladder after Joe had told them exactly where to find everything. Joe, Dick and Saucepan sat in their vests and pants and shivered a little, for the uniforms had been warm.
We shall look funny going home like this if those sailors don't keep their word. As a matter of fact, I'd have liked to keep that uniform. I like it much better than my clothes.
Look, something's coming down the ladder.
Cried Moonface, and they all ran out to see.
How quick the sailor dolls have been, or soldier dolls, I suppose we ought to call them now.
2 sets of clothes tumbled down the ladder, and the children caught them. Then came a clatter and a clanging as kettles and saucepans came down too. Saucepan was delighted. He put on a pair of ragged trousers and a funny old coat that came down with the pans, and Silky helped him to string his kettles and saucepans round him as usual.
Now you look like our old dear Saucepan again, said Silky.
The boys dressed too. Then Joe looked at Moonface's clock.
We must go. Thanks for the pot biscuits and everything. Now, Saucepan, don't get into any more trouble for a little while.
Smile?
Said Saucepan, going suddenly deaf again.
I am smiling. Look!
That's a grin, not a smile.
Said Joe, as he saw Saucepan smiling from ear to ear.
Now don't get into any more trouble.
Saucepan looked all round.
Bubble? Where's the bubble? I don't see anyone blowing bubbles.
The children grinned. Saucepan was always funny when he heard things wrong. Then Bessie said,
Come on, you three. Mother will be cross if we're home too late. Goodbye, Moonface. Goodbye, Silky. We'll see you again soon.
Well, don't forget to come to the land of goodies with us. That really will be fun. And nearly as much fun as the land of do as you please.
We'll come. Don't go without us. Can I have a red cushion, Moonface? Thank you.
One by one, the 4 children slid swiftly down the slippery slip to the bottom of the tree. They shot out of the trapdoor and set off home, and Dick said,
I'm looking forward to our next adventure. I hope it won't be the last.
And Bessie took his arm.
Oh, it won't be the last, Dick, because the Faraway tree is always there, and all our friends.
Suddenly Joe looked at his watch.
Come on, everybody. It's getting late. Let's get home. But it was an exciting adventure, wasn't it?
And the children all nodded and hurried as fast as they could back to the cottage. But we must leave them now to have their new adventures by themselves. There's no time to tell you any more. There they all go through the enchanted wood, knowing that they'd soon be going up the faraway tree again. What a lucky lot of children they are.